I wouldn't be too surprised if we see YFP kind of maybe lean into having Stellar even back on the Fade that we saw here on Haven as well. Fade has been historically was super meta on this map and is a comfortable pick as well, I think, looking at the changes. And it will be the Fade that does come back out here for Stellar. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if they've been practicing with that agent on other maps as well. It feels like a pretty like linear change, so you're not having to adjust like too many protocols. Stellar is he is not new to the initiator role whatsoever, right? So it will be comfy for him. I think this composition makes sense for the side of YFP when they're looking to slot out and move away from that Tejo.
Especially here too, when I'm talking about a YFP that maybe weren't comfortable with the meta or like the agent composition they had in the first map. If you take a history dive before Tejo's around, looking back before Stellar on the team, the rest of this core does have a lot of experience just with this composition. So hopefully something a little bit more familiar, as down one in the series, they got to throw absolutely everything at this. But it's an Envy that's cooking so far. Time to see if they're going to sweep this series away 2-0, or if YFP can take us to map number 3. It's time to head back over to your casters now. Jen and Shift, take it away.
Thanks, Sierra. Yeah, after a month since their last official match, Envy are still on fire. Like, if this was a boss fight, this is the second phase of Envy's final form, and I think YFP need more than a health potion to get through this.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things, like, no one has had an answer. And I mean, no one has had anything close to an answer for this composition and how Envy play on this map. And YFP is pulling up a comp that they're not unfamiliar with. The only thing that's really different here is, again, the Tejo nerfs have really kind of put him out of the really the realm of consideration. So you're going kind of something a little bit more, I won't say antiquated, but something that we've seen, prior to Tejo quite a bit. Just choosing something like the Fade instead of, trying to play for, an extra bit of maybe guaranteed initiation. Something along the lines of, we've seen, I think, in the past, things like Geckos kind of come into play and just try to get a little bit of that extra flash into play. But it's one of those things that no one has come close to stopping this Envy team on either side of the spike. So a lot of issue here in terms of YFP trying to pull a composition that they have not played in this competitive circuit against a team that essentially gets to keep doing what they've been doing.
I think YFP's objective is to try and deal with Exter when he does pop out so early before he's able to teleport out, ideally. And now that Penny's on the Neon, I describe Penny as very meta-proof because of just how good he was in that Neon meta. There's actually a trip right on the floor, just especially placed for Penny. We'll be getting away. Good info from Inspire.
Yeah, and that's been, I think, the biggest thing with Cypher players have had to adjust their own play styles since Neon has been... easy wordplay, electric, over the last couple of months. And that's what we're starting to see a lot in maps like this, is you don't put the traps in spots that you would A, normally expect them, but B, you also kind of just force them to have to get deeper into the site and use more of that high gear charge, so that way they can't scale deeper into sight. So yeah, good placement there. Poppin' first contact has gotten to read that this is going to be an A hit, and Ion is out of there, going to respect some space to be given while the rest of the defense rotates over.
Stellar and Penny have to address Poppin. YFP are very split, and finally that problem was dislodged. YFP kind of bait and switch. Now they set their sights forward. They got a Paranoia forward, but Kane's wins an important duel. Spike is still down, though. Paranoia from Envy this time. They're dropping down. They're searching. They're exploring. YFP have set Jakey on the flank, and I've wanted to see more of this out of YFP. The surprise doesn't fully go for the flank, comes back down to earth, back with his team, and Penny's left to pick up the pieces in a 1 versus 2 Spike. Tapped, one down, one to go, and Kane Zero wins the 1v1 to save the pistol.
If only just barely. That was impressive from Penny. The initial prediction shot moving from tree back onto the site would have likely gotten the job done initially onto Inspire, who was low HP, but then to have to follow up as Kane got it to half, hit the headshot with the classic, just be a little bit too far away from being able to confirm the second shot to land. A little unfortunate. So YFP find themselves again behind the 8-ball a touch, but this, I'm happy with this. Again, you get a spike plant, plus you're right there in what was essentially just a 1v1. Why not try to go for the Stingers with a Neon in the mix for this particular anti-eco?
I talked about the clutch factor of YFP, and I'm still waiting for that to pull more rounds together. Like Ash pointed out, they had only won 3 rifle rounds, and it was kind of very straightforward fighting from YFP, nothing too crazy. But now this is more of a standard comp that they probably have practiced a lot more of. I'm expecting a way better map out of YFP, but I guess I spoke way too soon. I've cursed enough things today. I swear I didn't do a ritual before this match, but it's still not over with B-Dog in a 1v3.
Yeah, and you know, this is one of those things that if you were a Rankers fan, now turned Envy fan, or stayed Envy fan, you kind of need to reflect back on like what had happened in that playoff run. I think in particular, the opener that they faced versus M80, like they just did not shoot well. Like you had Ion and Inspire who had good maps, but like you really didn't get the Eggster that you were hoping for. Like he played Yoru in all 3 maps and was fine, but not like the dominant Eggster that we had really praised throughout the Swiss stage. And then on top of that, you kind of fast forward to their other loss to Hubert Academy, and it's kind of the same story there. Like you get Kane who pops off, but Eggster's not a factor, and it's just like you had individual efforts from Envy. You didn't have the full squad there at that stage 1 playoff. Now you're starting to see what this team can look like when everyone's shooting straight. It just it hasn't been a contest really in any form for YFP. Even when they're finding first bloods, they're still losing rounds, and this has not been a good start to this second map for YFP. Likely to go down 3-0 early unless Stellar can snap, but no, not going to happen. And yeah, Envy are up big.
I like that YFP have this sort of sacrificial lamb setup of just walking their Cypher solo A, and while everyone's focusing on him, they flood into B. But I'd like to see if YFP are going to outnumber Envy, that it needs to be a more decisive sweep in that area. Because this thing that's scary about Envy is they shoot so well, they can get multi-kills very consistently. And they've talked about how they're really happy about how they've been able to improve their consistency. And they are just the most consistent team that we have. And it's about how they were going to translate that into playoffs, which so far so good.
Yeah, I love this too. Just, again, showing aggression in a little bit of a different way. You throw the undercut out from the backside of A. You put a smoke down, you start spamming it, and then you immediately put Kainzera into mid to make sure there's no wrap back quickly. So, again, just kind of controlling how the map is being manipulated right now is Envy. So this is a good angle, though, from Jake. Finds one in response to get us to a 3v4. But still the issue of the Nightfall lingers, and not having tree control, still having to worry about the cross. This is less than comfortable for YFP.
I need to suss out where Poppin was or is, because that baby door is where he sat at 4, which has been a huge cutoff point, and YFP still trying to find an advantage in their favor, at least getting the spike down, but time on their side at the very least, as Steve swings back out, wins against Poppin, which is very good, brings tables pretty even. Eggster and Inspire with rifles, though, will be heading towards Tree, or at least opening the door, getting the attention of Stellar. But hey, both teams pretty grouped up the trade.
Yeah, and the thing is, they don't know for sure if there's going to be a hit back over towards the backside at drop, so you have to be worried about that this entire time. Timing here, they see one, now there's a second. It's going to just be a raw 1v1, and Stellar has stayed tucked in towards drop. Inspire checking the angles there, but Stellar hits the shot, and YFP will get on the board.
I like that YFP are being more mobile. They're more active at exploring and working together, because we had sort of noted on Haven, sometimes it takes almost too long for YFP to come up with a plan. Even if it's successful, the time is still something you want on your side, so that if plan A doesn't work out, you have time to execute on a plan B. And YFP breaking that win streak is always good. It is coming down a lot to these 1v1s, so I'm not giving up hope that this could still be a close map.
Yeah, and you know, I think this round shows a level of what this composition can still do. Again, we're not unfamiliar with it. We've seen this offensive comp quite a handful of times. It's just being able to guarantee efficiency. We'll pause that as we get the kill contract out early. I was going to say the guaranteed efficiency with B-Dog's utility. That will help. Kainzera not able to win the opening 1v1 in the kill contract, and this is now YFP. You can take a pause here. Yeah, you're going to get a Nightfall for free. You still have the Rolling Thunder. Guarantee this round, flip the eco, get yourself back in. You may not even need the Rolling Thunder anymore with that secondary pick.
YFP able to anchor their own spawn too is huge. Envy have very limited options. They won't be able to flank. It's now just the front to back war. Ultimate's available, but really no time to execute it. Even Envy getting hit there by the Nightfall, and more util being thrown from Stellar. We're seeing the potential of this fade, and a flawless round for YFP. It's even better than these final 1v1s that you gotta stress over.
Yeah, and that's just a really good just dictation of speed for YFP after a really solid first blood. I mean, we've seen, you know, in the first 5 rounds, and I guess you could technically include that most recent one, first 4 rounds, include that last one, where Envy are kind of throwing out different utility to try to win over towards A. You know, this one is not the same with the undercut, smoke, try to spam. This is the kill contract, and you lose that opening 1v1. Everything kind of gets thrown out of plan because, I mean, let's be honest, like, probability of an ISO winning in the 1v1 kill contract at this level has got to be above like 80%. So you lose that one out, and Envy kind of have to stagger a touch. They're trying to play aggressive through the middle of the map. They get caught there, and YFP just kind of take their advantage and run with it. And now they can try to do the same thing here with a huge arsenal advantage, just playing up against Sheriffs, one Bucky in the mix.
Envy are not scared to shoot through smokes. They've gotten a lot of kills just back on Haven from that, and just very much letting YFP know that they got Sheriffs, but hiding their numbers, and the paranoia sneaks up. Ion with a big play. It drops one of YFP, who surge in to try and dismantle the problem as Envy back away after that first blood.
And look at this commitment from Envy. Inspire's already walked through C. You're going to have just Poppin hanging out a little while longer in case they move through small door to B, but he's got a Nightfall to try to stop this. And you're going to get the ISO into play where you've got another undercut, you've got the double tap, and you've got the Bucky. Like, this is, again, Envy running away with a major advantage. Ion sees the action over towards A, teleports to safety, and now it's just down to timing on this Bucky play. If you're Envy, you're trying to back them out. You're trying to get them a late rotation to the Bucky, but they may not be able to do that against all these rifles.
Left.
Stellar has an important job here to try and stop.
That's bold.
2 flanks, one from Baby Door, one from literally behind. You got the Rolling Thunder to set yourself up, and here's the Nightfall retake as Envy drop in, and YFP try to escape through tree, and guess what? There's a Sentinel back there. There's Envy in your face, and YFP just paved the way to safety into a round win.
That is unbelievable from YFP, stuck at tree. Inspire is about to win the round. He's able to collect the weapon, get the neural theft, puts down a cyber cage to try to hopefully allow Envy to keep at least some sort of primary focus from the front with all of their Sheriff pistols and the Bucky, and then you come up and pop everyone from behind. But B-Dog snaps, finds 3 different kills in instantaneous form. I don't know if we saw much of it, but here he is stuck on site. He's able to find this opener, and then you see the follow-up immediately in the kill feed. That is so good from B-Dog. While decayed, revealed by the fade, doesn't care, and now Thieves got first blood to make matters even better for YFP.
YFP have been pressured at this point, and the flash almost hurts Envy themselves, but still coming out with a win, or at least the trade in this moment, as YFP wastes no time in the first 30 seconds to get set up on the site to drown out Eggster from the area. There'll be another retake from Envy.
Spike planted.
Dimensional Drift is going to be able to clear out Mound, which is the most important part about this. The problem is going to be, do you expect Stellar playing behind this play, especially with Jake still holding the ground on top of the site. Kane for 1. There's the follow-up, and yeah, YFP get the successful pinch. And now all of a sudden, you start to sweat a little bit if you're Envy, because that opening aggression that we've seen, especially through the A side of the map, has come up empty. And 3 of the last 4 rounds, not all sequentially, but 3 of the last 4, and you're back onto a save. You've tried using ultimates to stop this YFP hit. It really hasn't worked out all that well. So yeah, time to talk about it if you're Envy. And this may be one of those moments that you need to see Envy kind of take a little bit of a breath, not try to play with so much aggression, and try to force YFP to play a game, on their terms. What utility do you want to spend? Because let's be honest, like, the breach not nearly as effective with Tejo out of the picture. So you're really putting pressure onto Penny to have to find good openers. And so far, Penny has been, relatively quiet for what we normally expect out of Neons.
I think YFP can continue to show face at this A rubble, A lobby side, just to keep the presence of the defense there. But YFP are playing so fast towards A, and maybe this is the pace that they intended to do all along at Haven, but just didn't have the most ideal duelist to do it with. Now with a Neon, which is much more of a comfort pick of Penny. I mean, Ash pointed out that we haven't seen the raise from Penny in a long time. Now this is going to be the pace that YFP can play at, which if they can get set up before Envy get comfortable, this is going to be a much better position for YFP going forward.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And you're also kind of dealing with this situation to where, you kind of got to go back a handful of rounds when B-Dog and Stellar both have their ults. They only need to use one of them. So now you're in this position to where you may actually kind of get staggered charge as you finish off this half, as this is a decent look. trying to get the flash over with a little bit of a speed boost from Penny. Doesn't really work out. And go figure, Envy want to brawl this. Who would see that coming?
Oh, just spam through the smoke. And Envy get a taste of their own medicine. And look how many of Envy are stacked on that side. It is a save, so that's a result of that. And YFP are reading that, so they're just pushing the opposite side of the map. They should be expecting Exter to be waiting for them at C, and they'll commit Thief to try and look at that. But also keeping YFP have to keep eyes on Envy going for flanks because they will push spawn.
Dark cover replaces that defense over towards C. Inspire's going to commit to playing over towards the turn. And just gets isolated. Good self-utility execution from Stellar. And Thief will actually sneak into C, kind of bypass Egster. And you would not ever expect this if you're Envy. So, a lot of tools on the table here for YFP to comfortably secure this round. Just comes down to what this contact looks like, and it looks pretty good if you're Thief.
Yeah, Envy just did not bite down on that fake from Thief, just making all this noise and all this commotion at C, and the plant's actually at A. YFP decided to re-clear through rubble when Envy, I don't blame them for not pushing spawn when it wasn't successful for them last time, and when they don't have the weaponry for the ranged battle, and Ion gets lucky there. That was a beautiful shot. YFP end up at B all along. KaneZera is ready to pop through smoke once Ion gets into position. Doesn't have a paranoia, and KaneZera is a little too confident there. Thought he had the right timing. Now the rest of YFP hope to be on janitor duty. And it's YFP with 5 rounds in a row.
Yeah, and you make it, a couple of repurchases, but kind of like we talked about from map 1, YFP don't care about that. A round 1 at this point with the pockets they've been able to secure is way more important than what's going to happen to you financially, because everyone's so comfortable. So now you're in a situation, if you're Envy, this is a must-win round, like legitimately. Everything that you found success with in the first 3, just kind of running and gunning and finding these brawly moments up, especially towards A, kind of at A main, you haven't been able to do that at all in the last handful, including using a kill contract early, which it looks like they want to try to do again, possibly. Undercut gets called through. Haunt, Paranoia also spent. So again, lots of tools for Envy sent early just to get this A main control. And now we're going to see something new as YFP try to hit over towards C quickly.
So again, YFP wanting to be fast, and Envy wants to be ready for it this time with trips all the way at the back. Try and catch this Neon. Rolling Thunder towards B.
Oh, love
Hearing
that.
some commotion, the kill contract to escape the sun. Give you a moment to breathe. Still snuffed out by B-Dog at the end. And he's just been playing lights out. And the Neon ult gets sacrificed, getting nothing out of it. And the ace from Poppin at the end of the day. He is on fire.
Yeah, he's had a really good set of maps to this point, but that's like, honestly, for Envy, you're really not just, I won't say lucky, but you're looking at Poppin like, dude, you are him, because that round was falling apart quickly. The initial attempt over towards A, like I kind of mentioned, was expensive. You're using so much just to dominate over towards A rubble. But then as you see the hit start to break over towards C, you do get connection onto the trap wire, but Inspire is hit by a fault line, can't follow up. The check from KaneZera at mid doors also doesn't come through at the right time while the reveal is still in play. So you have to use the kill contract to combat against the Rolling Thunder. That doesn't work. And it looks like Envy's about to completely crumble on site. But nope, Poppin gets 5. I'll buy you a couple of weapons for my effort as well on top of that, friends, as we go to a 4-5 tally.
Oh, it's a rubble fight again for Envy, but not having as many opponents to face this time. So the spacing here of Thief is going to be important. How well he's able to anchor spawn this time, and he's going to be outnumbered. There's a Yoru clone, and Thief still just a 1v1 against Poppin. Sits in the smoke. Envy don't know what's up. And as soon as Thief tries to escape, Ion reads him like a book. And then again, while this distraction happens at A, YFP try to carve their way into C.
How does Inspire get 2 right there? He is dodging relay bolts. He gets affected by the fault line, still finds the first. Then all of a sudden, you've got more members just running at you. You think there's no way you get a second. Still is able to make that a possible 2v2. But Penny, similar aggression, scales deep in towards the C site. Ion knife out, gets the read, but Penny can just dash away and just delay this a little while longer. As this 2v1 is going to be very hard for Ion to try to break through, especially when it comes to this dark cover. And yeah, the crossfire setup is too strong, and YFP get their 6th.
Like, for YFP to have more punishing moments against Envy when they're caught with a knife out or changing guns. It's been a couple of occasions now, even from Haven, where Envy are sitting in smokes and they're half health, they're reloading, and YFP still can't punch. I like that YFP are starting to spam through smokes more to be productive in that regard, but I want to see more out of Penny, especially when you're going up against not only the best duelist and challengers, but there's 2 duelists on the other side. And I had confidence that now he's on the right agent, but we need YFP to play as clean as possible if they hope to take down the juggernauts of challengers.
Very true. But back on to limited arsenal again for Envy. Things starting to get really dangerous here. This would be one of their worst defensive halves in quite some time. Usually good. I mean, to be fair, they don't usually get many defensive rounds because they always start on offense and they dominate teams. But for a team that still comes away about 65% of the time winning defense, they're under threat of seeing that really be punished if this can be a convincing 7th round for YFP. A little bit of a whiff right there for Ion. Leaves Extra kind of by himself. And yeah, now it's been spammed out of the corner. Flash trying to give himself a chance at it, but no, that was actually Flash from the other side, kind of putting him out of commission. It's on to Kane with the collected rifle to see if he can do some hero work, but nothing there. Inspire 1v4. It gets the first for free, but the next 3 are going to be really hard.
Yeah, Inspire's such a good defender, but how does he do in a 1v3? Pops the neural theft earlier on, but couldn't pull off the ace. But hey, YFP have 1 less win condition from Envy to worry about with that neural theft pop, even with the 2 sheriff spot, because Ion is very clean with the sheriff, just not this time, and YFP needs to take advantage of every weakness that Envy are showing.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job of just making sure they're not getting caught by all of this initiation that Envy continue to throw at them. You know, even in one of the more recent rounds when they're on full purchase, it's not even just the fact that Envy want to challenge them at a rubble, but they sent 3 members through main to try to chase down Thief.
Find you.
So there is a level of like, they want to try to find these first bloods and find them quickly. Stellar's gonna have to be responsible for a very different look here at mid, but the Prowler, yeah, I've seen a lot of it. Nightfall at the ready, gonna spend it. Yeah, that's really not, I don't know. That's just to kind of stay alive. And yeah, let's say the counter Nightfall should be pretty easy to call out here. So you've got Nightfall for Nightfall, and Envy will be wiser to what YFP is trying to do.
Oh, this cutoff though, because no one can hear anything, and Poppin almost gets a surprise on Thief, who's now caught between a rock and a hard place, and yeah, that rock is Envy. They've been sturdy, and YFP hit a plant, but someone's literally within the site. Exter sneaks up on one, traded out. The rest of Envy assemble, and it's like the Avengers. They're ready to take down YFP. One sitting in tree, Stellar coming from B, and Vito can only buy so much time with the U-kill, and he almost gets away with 3. That was almost insane.
Yeah, if he gets away and just if there isn't a third, he's got Rolling Thunder, can instantly pop that, and that likely wins the round. But instead now Stellar's got to go. Inspire gonna try to hold on it. Does get taken down. Opportunity. Exter swaps the weapon, and that'll be enough for him to connect onto the headshot. And we'll have a 5-7 half, but whoa, there's a moment there where B-Dog nearly just absolutely willpowers his way through that round with the first 2. Rolling Thunder earned just not enough space to call it in. And Envy get 1 last round before we swap sides onto what has been their dominant half.
Yeah, I'm gonna take back what I said earlier about YFP just need to punish Envy, forehead. Like, there's moments where you would think Envy's either reloading, switching a weapon, they're sitting in smoke half health, and I don't blame them. Like, the fact that Exter is picking up a weapon and still wins that is so insane to me. YFP lead by 2, but for how long? I think it's gonna be so important how this pistol goes for YFP to continue to have wind in their sails or for Envy to steal the lead back.
Yeah, and the pistols have been, I would say, you know, a pretty determining factor for a lot of these tight matchups. You kind of even look at just Envy's match results, and when they've played on this map, like, their pistol win rate has gotten them through teams like Hubert and M80 earlier, back like through playoffs and things of the nature. So if that continues to be the case, we're obviously would be tied at that point, and you start to sweat a little bit for YFP trying to get us to a third. But you win this pistol, and you've got some of that freedom that they didn't have in map number 1 to kind of play around with a couple of rounds, try to actually build a response to what a lot of teams have struggled with when Envy plays this map.
Envy just fight their way through tree, not getting contested at rubble as Penny sits in a corner as able to get some good catches. YFP disengage to safe positions and win as Envy progress forward. And it's a 2v2 with a knife kill of all things. Poppin with an ace and a knife kill. I think he can go to bed happy tonight. All depends on the result of this match, though. Deep and Penny are still threats. And with this speed activated, Penny, been waiting to see him really log into this lobby. And it's going to be a plant at B. Penny, Thief around the corner, swinging out together. Ion wants to get ahead of the game and gets the backstab, but Penny 180s to deal with it.
Oh my goodness, the micro decision from Ion right there was nearly Giga Chad Brainiac craziness. But now it's the opening battle, you know, it's just the YFP meet it head on, honestly. Like, they don't even get literally a full read on whatever he's trying to do early. They just happen to be there, and they happen to win a couple of nice, easy gunfights to start things off. Just cannot fully get back into the round with Zenvi, even though you do get the antics of Poppin's knife to come into play. But it's just the fact that Stellar and Jake do a really nice job initially holding off that play and making sure the spike never gets planted. So 8-5, one stinger up for Kane on the offensive side, whereas Bulldogs, Phantom, Guardian, and Spectre is in play here for YFP. Envy for first blood. Follow-up is decent. The exchange is fine here, and Envy's going to get a couple of weapons off that.
Hey, it's some fun teleports from Exter within the site, and this kind of confused YFP through the chaos. It's pretty even, which means upgraded weapons too from Envy. And now they have to patrol all these exits and entryways. And Jake, very important win. Now 2, going for more. And he's got B-Dog by his side. This was the Jake I wanted to see all along. The one that could give YFP a chance in the series.
Yeah, and better than that in terms of chance in the series, you're starting to really run away with this map now after a very successful first half. This is where the map will start to get real, though, I think, if you're looking at this, because Envy's no stranger to playing up against this composition, at least in some regard, at least 4/5 of this composition. Of course, you're used to seeing Tejo here, but not the case, obviously, with the nerfs that have come through. But this is where you assume that Envy's double duelist pressure will start to really shine. And what will YFP try to do to stop that? We may not get a full indication of it on this round because it is a bonus, but as we start to get into full gun versus gun rounds, what does YFP want to do? How do they want to challenge what is likely going to be a lot of that initiative kind of early established by Envy with these double duelists, and of course the Prowler, things like that that can really open up space early?
Spiral anchor spawn for now and isn't going to be pressed too much, but maybe YFP have a number advantage coming up if they can all group up for a C retake. It's the plant through, and you got a Prowler and a Paranoia just to clear through that initial doorway, which Penny does a fantastic job of. But Exter, another bodyguard for YFP to dislodge, and you need some presence at Waterfall to create multiple points of threat. And you see Envy scrambling. Where is this hit going to come through next? While YFP have also Thief joining their side through the Waterfall. Teleport within the smoke for Jake, and he's surprised as Envy has their backs against the wall, which Envy fight back in the biggest of ways, but the shotgun still hurt, and YFP take the round.
Yeah, this is one of those things, you know, for YFP, that round is made easier because the execute for Envy is expensive. You know, you spend out both Prowlers, you spend the Haunt, you spend the Paranoia, so there's really not a lot of tools to reinforce the post plant. And simply put, how do you counteract that? You flash it, you flood it. You've got some SMGs, you've got some shotguns. You really don't have a choice to try to take gunfights at range. You can't really play for corners. You just have to try to get in there as fast as humanly possible, which obviously is made easier by having a Neon in the mix. But you know, Jake being able to find this first is great. It just pulls so much focus away, allows B-Dog to step up a little bit further. And Penny with the finishing punch gets it now to double digits. And Envy's in some trouble here. That, again, shoots on the opposite foot compared to what we talked about from map number 1. Whatever the playbook is for Envy, it better start working. You better start working quick because there's not a lot of rounds to play with.
My camera is destroyed.
I like that Envy just kept also their utility very close to the doorway, not allowing someone from Envy to sit in a corner and just kind of multi-frag. And to build space and time for Penny to frag too is important. YFP working well as a team, but this time Envy divide and conquer through the site, and they have Stellar on the back foot. But here comes this breach of B-Dog, full util, and YFP are not very united on this approach, so it ends up being a flawless round for Envy.
Yeah, that'll work. And to kind of continue on the point, you know, with Envy throwing a lot of their, and pretty much all of their initiation utility just to get into sight, what you're hoping for is a look like that, where cainzera can hit the double tap while he's already in sight later to stop the retake, and then he just becomes indomitable. You know, you hit one shot, you just keep getting his shield back, and you're just taking gunshots. You're taking gunfights, rather, I should say. The other side of that is, as Eggster gets closer and closer to this dimensional drift, that will be a tool that can be used to make sure that you still have things like a Paranoia or a Seize or a Prowler or whatever it happens to be late. So this is what I was wondering about. Would YFP try to get aggressive early? Kill contract will come through after the first blood, and YFP's aggression has been pretty much matched at the front door here. As cainzera has won his 1v1, will come back out, and Stellar finds themselves with nothing but a classic on the corner.
This was to take out Penny in that kill contract while they had popped the overdrive right before. So it's this Penny, this Neon has been muted by Envy. They are pulling out the aux cords. So Envy have found a way to not only respond, but to potentially come back into this map, being at a starting to be a severe deficit. But we got even numbers. And B-Dog, hearing some footsteps, can win this. He will weaken the site, and that is huge.
Poppin's going to commit to getting the spike planted here. So 3v2, you do earn the Nightfall with that plant, though. And Thief has been seen and heard by Inspire, who's trying to see if there's a way that he can find this isolated 1v1 quickly. But Poppin's in trouble, is going to need some help and need it quickly. Otherwise, this Nightfall is just never going to be used. Seize will come through. That isolates one. Haun's behind that. And now the Nightfall could be used. Yeah, that's going to reveal onto both players, but doesn't win the first battle. Inspire now to 1v2. Finds the first. 1v1 with B-Dog. Full rifle, but not full health. Even made worse by that. And yep, the shots will land. And a 1v2 clutch comes through for Envy as they get this thing to within 3.
I like the approach of the two last members that were left post-plant. It's just you have one within the site that's being the aggressive one, the one that's out in the open, the one that's most likely gonna die, but sacrifices himself to get all that information, to get the Nightfall out, which great job for B-Dog to be so stoic during that Nightfall to win, but allows that Cypher that hung back in safety to now just react to all the information that was fed by Poppin and to kind of end up winning the round at that point.
Traveling.
Well, one more full gun round here can still be fully afforded by YFP, but they lose this one. They would be on a save, and you really start to look at what could be a near even tally on the scoreboard between these two squads. But Rolling Thunder and Nightfall are only an orb or a kill away for YFP, which would be obviously a major advantage for them here. The dimensional drift comes through, and so again, you don't anticipate that you're going to see things like the Paranoia being spent early. You're still holding onto a lot of utility from Fade for this, and then you follow up with even a first blood behind it. And yeah, this is going to be a much different look in terms of how do you contest this post plant, because now Envy have so much utility still yet to spend.
Envy are trying to be so proactive, and Stellar's like 360 and gets caught. Inspire's traded, and YFP are trying to play as stacked as possible. Now behind the Rolling Thunder. It's been difficult for YFP to get a leg up on this with where Ion is inserted. This is what surprised YFP at the beginning of the round. B-Dog, don't know where he is, unsuspecting. B-Dog clears through tree, and Eggster wins hiding behind said tree. And it's an important round for Envy to win because I think the economy is looking pretty shaky for YFP, meaning we're going into a tieable scenario.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And again, that just kind of plays out perfectly for Envy off the dimensional drift. You get the deep scaling into a site that's relatively open. YFP are not necessarily banking on getting the Nightfall of the Rolling Thunder, but you hope that you can find at least one trade to get one or the other, if not possibly both. B-Dog earns it. You're able to spend it, but again, the difference in this round in terms of what Envy have in the post plant, they don't have to use Paranoia to get onto site. So they have that held. You stall out the play up top towards ropes, and I think you saw Inspire find a 1v1 over towards stairs while players are still nearsighted. So again, like the effects that come through because of what utility you're able to save on that execute just allows you a chance to just be a little bit more formidable in how your setup is. And that's also, to be fair, like why you decide to go A instead of C in that round, just because you can get more value out of things like all of the Fade utility, like being able to kind of hit long lines with the Paranoia. So good decision making from Envy. It's been pretty textbook when they do have the tools that they need. It just comes down to some of these clutch rounds that YFP been able to put together, you know, early in terms of finding early numbers advantages and stepping up when it matters most. The difference is going to be, this is going to be a different situation because you're just dealing with essentially stingers.
And Envy are ending up a lot at B and sometimes C, depending on if the initial plan goes correctly. So I wonder if YFP can start spotting the gaps in develop a flank and send Jake. He also does want to support the team with counter paranoias, with the rubble brawl if there were to be one. So YFP haven't had any openings, but I see one right now at the back of cainzera's head, which a good initial start for YFP to limit the numbers on for Envy on the post plant.
Yeah.
I know
4v4 situation. Neural Theft's going to be called in.
Spike planted.
It's going to stall out this retake pretty considerably. And to make matters worse, Ion can also, set himself up for a paranoid if they want to try to challenge this waterfall position.
Bring them down.
They don't fully challenge it, but the Prowler comes through, and again, it's just so much stall tactics out. So now you look over towards the top side of the site. What can this breach neon composition and combination find? Fault lines out, but doesn't really get too much done. And nowhere for Penny to go. It'll be initial trade to a 4v4, but after that, it's flawless for Envy, now back to within 1 round.
I don't care if there are 5 of them or
And this
50.
was this is a win streak that is hard to break, even post timeout. But this was not the best buy for YFP, so now that you got rifles, this is where the plan has to be executed, where you have Nightfall, Neural Theft, so that initial first pick could be everything. And how you're able to catch Envy on their routes, so not checking this left corner, that's exploitable, etc. So it's all about what YFP can read, as this is becoming more of a marathon than the sprint, and this lead is barely being held on.
Well, a little bit of a different idea here for YFP, kind of searching for information through B and A earlier in the round. Thief is in some trouble though, and with his wire being destroyed, you really can't hold here. So he'll back up. Now the ISO shield has already been popped here. cainzera is really trying to get that back, and wow, you push forward with the shorty, you find first blood, and now again, you can trust that same protocol that you have, which is cainzera trying to stand tall. Does get traded. Thief, though, does the same in response, and it's all down to B-Dog, who really doesn't have an option here besides to try to fight this 1v1, and there's just nowhere to go.
Just to push with the shorty and the shield, and to get away with it. Like, Envy get away with so much crime, and YFP are just barely catching up, being able to punish this and even chasing it down. Now Envy got to sit back, be at the staircase, kind of using that pillar as cover, and YFP tried to create some threats, but got shut down on every side from waterfall through the back. And I don't know what it's going to take from YFP, because this is turning into Haven, where Envy are exploiting C now, and that's looking very unstoppable. So YFP are going to try and match this fire with fire, having all 3 ready at the door, but not a great buy to do it with.
No, it's not at all, and things are starting to fall apart pretty quickly here, although that's a heck of a piece of timing for Jake. Headshot into Inspire, is worried about the follow-up. Penny steps up with the Stinger to find one more, and they're great early numbers here for YFP, and Envy's going to commit. You've already called the double tap out. Kill contract's going to be pulled, but Thief in the corner finds a counter flash position, trying to look to see where cainzera is going to teleport back out to after the ult, but doesn't quite find the correct location. Oh, and the dimensional drift timing is so clutch. Unreal, just down to Jake 1v2.
So many clutches, from that Ion teleport play at the final round of Haven to that, to pulling Penny out of his overdrive. Like, Envy are just not only a team that frags, because sometimes you have players that are really good at shooting but are kind of dumb, and Envy don't have that. Like, they're smart and they shoot well. They really are such a well-rounded team, which is why Envy would sign them in the first place. And I'm glad that they're carrying this banner a lot better now in playoffs. This is just their first match into playoffs, but YFP are the last seed coming into this, but don't play like a last seed. I wasn't sure whether to call the upset here, because YFP have the potential to push this. I mean, this is a rematch of the Stage 3 Grand Finals, and YFP and Envy played close, albeit with different rosters. So it's not over. YFP are just down 1 round.
Yeah, and another first blood comes through. YFP have been really efficient, getting themselves early numbers advantages, but still, Envy just don't really care about that. Take your advantage, take your information, and just run forward. Jake seen on the cross. Ion misses an opportunity, and Jake makes good on his second. Fault line also now going to connect a lot on this Envy players, and Jake will again. Got to do it all himself here. Really good stuff from YFP. Just down to Kane, and no, there's nowhere to go. So 11-11 the count as we head into round 23, and YFP continue to stay alive in this one.
This is why YFP are a sleeper pick, according to Roy, because you have people like Stellar and you have people like Jake that have the potential to multi-frag the way that Envy does. But the only thing is that all 5 players of Envy can do it, and I most believe in maybe Stellar and Jake, although B-Dog is the one really stepping up as that, quote, newest addition to YFP. He's been pulling a lot of rounds out of his hat, so to tie things up is huge. And for YFP to break that, what, like 6-round win streak that Envy had is important, but Envy did get pretty rich off of that. So it's now the last couple of rounds to see, is Envy going to move on to the semifinal or not?
I'm out of here.
Still feels like there's going to be a lot of Valorant to be played in these at least next couple of rounds. Just has that feel. Poppin's got the Nightfall at the ready. That's the big thing to kind of keep the eye on here for Envy in terms of how and when would they like to use this. Different look here around the top side of A, as double trap wires will provide some safety net for B-Dog if he feels like he's going to get pressured over towards Tree. Vault line out, wants to challenge it, but combination of the Prowler and the Paranoia is too much. First blood good for Envy. Here we go.
And that was such a heads-up play from B-Dog. So unfortunate he couldn't pull out anything there, and a better response out of Envy as they carve their name through the rest of the corpses of YFP, standing in their way, even just playing alongside Ropes. This is going to be a flawless round, a big statement from Envy to make going into potentially the last round of regulation.
Match point.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about that for YFP not finding really any eliminations at all is that you're not going to get the Rolling Thunder unless B-Dog finds some early success. You really only have the finger guns out of the overdrive from Penny, whereas on the opposite side, like Nightfall in play, if you can catch an orb, you're one off of a kill contract. Like there's just a lot of opportunity here for Envy with the ultimates that are nearby, let alone how they find success on rounds that look like that. So with weakened up shields and one stinger and missing out on a key ultimate, YFP are in some major trouble here.
Jake has been, I think, the one that's had the cape on his back for YFP. Couple of triple kills for him. Really hustling his way around B in previous rounds. He's going to go for a forward play around Mound. As Envy just kind of wait to see if YFP are going to be desperate enough to go for a flank. Not even having any eyes on A, but keeping the trip there. Is Envy taking one step at a time.
This feels like it's going to be a Nightfall execution, just based on the time that they're taking and the lack of space that they've navigated to this point. And if they do get some free clearance beyond this spy cam over at A-Long, the opportunity for Inspire to hit a lurk through mid could be very dangerous. So we'll see if they can find the spy cam or how much it actually sees. Obviously, the noise is pretty convincing. Yeah, there's one. Do you see Eggster? You see the decoy, and then there you find that opportunity to find the tag, but here comes Inspire, but shut down. Huge pick from Jake.
30
More
seconds
could
left.
rest on Jake's shoulders. Sometimes Envy ends up at B if there's too much action at A, but Paranoia comes up from behind from YFP, and now it's a scramble with the overdrive through the front as YFP unite for one final time in regulation, and it's Kane Zero that has to pull off a 1 versus 3 to end it here and now.
Stopping fire.
Spots Penny and Tree, uses the shield to isolate. Does a good job against Stellar. 8 seconds left though, and he still has the plan. It's not looking good. Sound goes off. Thief from behind the backstab. We go to OT.
Jake wins that round by able to find Inspire and then be a part of the defense immediately onto the A site where he finds, I think, 2 more. Single-handedly gets us into extra innings here. That is so big, just awareness-wise from Jake, because you're thinking, I better hit this Paranoia, I better get these dark covers down correctly, but is the one responsible to make sure nobody sneaks through B. Wins a huge 1v1 there, where initially it looked like he may have been a little bit off, and then you get the follow-up reveal from Thief's utility to allow Penny to get there, and it just all falls apart afterwards. Really good stuff, and again, shutting down that lurk is everything for YFP.
A YFP on offense this time. Just have to worry about those trips over at C, where Inspire's changed it up. He's had it deep at the backside, he's had it on the ground. Been a lot of ways that Envy have shut down Penny, whether mid overdrive or not. And it will be up to Thief 2 to keep the spawn anchored. And he'll have Jake there, but it also means you'll have a Paranoia to get into C.
Very true. Teeth of this setup from Inspire right on the interior of this doorway. No commitment here for YFP. Even if they show force, the spike's not a part of this play. So You see the Prowler, but yeah, Inspire is calling the bluff. No one crossed by the dark covers. No one's in, so no need to get too finicky or too anxious about this play towards C. Just kind of reset and get yourself back into position.
I think Envy are okay just holding the perimeters of the map and then converging later if it ends up at B. So I don't mind them, Envy, biting on any sort of noise, and especially the, well, you spot the Duelist, you spot the Prowler, you have a pretty good sense of where YFP are, and now the camera ping is going to set up Kane's Arrow for success potentially.
But as soon as Kane peeks and sees that no one's here, keep your eye on Poppin, because he's going to be the one that has probably the trouble coming his direction.
30 seconds left.
They're going to kill Noise, but again, this is going to feel comfortable for Envy. There's the Prowler. You don't see anything over towards Pillars. You get the extra set of utility. Now Kanzera can step up with Ion.
There's no alternative plan for YFP now that Feast. Lurk is gone at A, and it's a good start. It's YFP still have a hold on the site, but coming through behind, you hear that B door open. It's Poppin with a rifle, and Envy pushing their Duelist through Waterfall with Ion with a Paranoia. That could be top sight, and YFP all have their backs against the wall, looking forward, but no eyes on Mound. So within that smoke, B-Dog will stay hidden from any Mound pressure that come out of Poppin as Envy address the angles one by one. Stellar with a win, traded by Eggster as B-Dog is left against two demons from Envy. And he's a demon himself, and he will not be exercised today as Envy will take the first round of OT.
Oh my goodness, B-Dog stuck in a corner without any lifeline whatsoever. Nearly gets the perfect prediction, or just barely the right angle to stay away from that double swing. Puts Eggster right into danger zone of being doubled up on, but does not fully connect. And 13-12 the count. And honestly, and for me, that last round, MVP of that round is the Spy Camp. Inspire just gets so much intel until late, and it allows Envy to be in a spot to, at worst, contest, if not better, find the out-traded potential of just keeping more guns on site. So good trust onto Inspire, and now YFP have to try to find a way to respond, and they're going to go for something very different. You've got that same Cypher setup we saw from a couple of rounds prior towards A. Trapwires are in a little bit of a different spot, as there's not going to be anyone actually possessing inside a tree, but this is all about how long does Jake choose to stay here. He's got no help at all, and he's going to commit forward.
Wow, I can't believe he's committing to this, and I mean, he's feeling himself. He's been huge, but even the Paranoia is not enough to stop someone like Inspire. So that means Penny has to skip out of the site and wait for a more regrouped approach, and it's B-Dog that's going to aftershock, but not fully flush out that corner. So it's still a problem for YFP of how they're going to zone off these power positions from Envy, as Ion's going to be heads up on this, and even the double swing, Ion gets a win. Penny slides in during the chaos, and Envy are at a deficit. In the end, this map and the series is Inspire evens up the odds. B-Dog and Thief with no util, just these Envy members in corners that are too difficult to get to, and Envy takes the series and goes to the semifinal.